Hi everyone, welcome to Cow Corner Cricket Cast. I'm your host Pratham. I'm joined by your other host, Rohan, and today we're going to be discussing the West Indies versus South Africa Test series that's coming up, and this is going to be a crackerjack of a series. It's kind of funny because both of these teams are mid-range teams at this point, and this is technically the last WTC series on offer, which is really weird because
the last match of the series happens during the finals. Yeah.
Yeah, what sense does it make?
Like, who's in charge of scheduling here?
I guess we were making jokes about Rain Pereira the other day. I think it's Baba COVID that sort of dictates things now. But onto the series itself, promises to be exciting, being played in the Windies. So it's the first time in 11 years that South Africa's touring. So that their players.
Especially with the relationship the two countries have had, especially post-apartheid.
Yeah.
Malcolm Marshall obviously helping bring South African cricket back up to standards.
My man, mentored Sean Pollock, Lance Kloosner. Awesome.
Entire great South African side of the 90s. Yeah.
But yeah, coming to the squads themselves that they've been picked, there are really some exciting developments, guys, because we have the South African Test squad, which I'm going to start off with, 6 uncapped players, which obviously this is a transformational time in South African cricket. And if I look at squads here, right, I see some really exciting names being picked outside of, your predictables, right? And in amongst those exciting names, you've got the likes of Lizard Williams, the South African fast bowler. I don't know what it's with South African fast bowlers and having very weird names, but no offense.
It's Afrikaans.
Yeah, but it's like lizard, dude. Like, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's like Junior Dala. What do you expect with, like, the meme factor is
Cricket
entirely.
Shitpost is going to have a lot of fun with this guy if he makes it into the test team, or even their limited oversides.
Yeah, but he's one of the uncapped. Another man is Pralinayan Subarayan. Sorry, I absolutely butchered that pronunciation. But he's an uncapped batsman, a top order batsman, bowls a couple of offies as well. Interesting choice. For all of those who think that the IPL doesn't matter in team selection, Marco Janssen, another uncapped player in the squad, is here to prove no, it does matter. The stage matters.
If anyone is convinced that the IPL doesn't matter for team selection, look just at Washington Sundar coming from fucking nowhere, and then is suddenly everyone's like, oh, can we get him into the squad? Is there a way we can manage to we should drop Rahane and play Washington Sundar? It's something insane like that. Limited overs cricket, right? Franchise cricket. I know that the purists love to shit on it, and it's fair. I'm a purist at heart.
Yes, same.
But it does a lot of good, especially helping players that would otherwise not get picked for national teams who could be very good, getting a chance.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of exposure. It's an incredibly valuable tool. I still think you need that FC experience to supplement that. But a guy like Marco Janssen, who's young, he's only 2019. He's played the Under-19 World Cup, impressed there. In the few opportunities at the more under 19-ish level domestic cricket, he's also impressed. Tall, left-hand, quick, which is
that's always useful.
Yeah, it's a rarity, even in the South African squad, and it's a huge reason why it's been picked.
Who was the last good left-handed seamer from South Africa?
Brett Schultz. I remember this 100% clearly. I can answer this 100%. He went to Sri Lanka, terrorized the shit out of the batsmen, to the point where Alan Donald talks about this in one of his stories. He's literally like, hey, when Sri Lanka, because South Africa toured Sri Lanka in the 1993-1994, and when they paid a return visit in 1995 and 1996, he came back and he was basically saying how the Sri Lankan tourists, when they came to South Africa, were asking, is Brett Schultz there? So he was awesome, man. He was basically.
So it's been about 20 years since they've last had a left arm quick in their side. So I think, especially if you have two dominant right armers in Ngidi,
Nortje and Rabada.
Nortje and Rabada.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous threesome if you can get those three going all at once.
That is, and then the other support bowler, as you mentioned, is Lungi Ngidi, who's damn good in his own right. Won a match against us He demolished us in that Centurion second innings.
Well, his debut match too. Like he just came out of nowhere and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna just be the best bowler on this day." When we have Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Mohammad Shami, Ishant Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah, and Kagiso Rabada all playing, I'm going to be the best bowler, and I'm going to like demolish this Indian batting lineup that stood up to everything. It was looking like it might win a series in South Africa for the first time ever.
Yeah, mate, he clocked 150 Ks in his debut match, and the moment I saw him, I was like, "Oh shit, we're done for." He's in the squad as well.
It's good to see, especially considering his injuries, and as a CSK fan, that's great to see because his injuries have been such a problem for him the last few
and
years.
It's affected him as a bowler too, right? Like
he's slower now.
Yeah, he's slower now. He's a bit more crafty. Brilliant limit overs bowler for the record. He's improved tremendously in that regard. But yeah, he's struggled with fitness, and there are times where he's looked out of sorts, even in the test arena. It just doesn't look like he has stamina yet. So this is going to be a test for him as well. But in terms of other debutants, Keegan Peterson, who captained Dean Elgar, which is also the big story here. Dean Elgar for the first time captaining South Africa. Very interesting prospects. He, in his press release, mentioned that he wanted 5 firsts and hundreds from his team, and he singled out Keegan Peterson as a very talented bloke. And I actually managed to watch him in domestic cricket a little bit, right? And it's kind of funny because he reminds me of like a young Nasser Hussain, very compact, diminutive right-hander. Opens the face of the gully a little bit too much for my liking. Sometimes misreads when against spinners, whether to go forward or back. But otherwise, a really technically solid and consistent player.
So you're saying in about 20 years, he's going to be commentating on Sky Sports and saying things like, "No, Ben Stokes, you can't do that." Because apparently Ben Stokes there'll be another Ben Stokes. He won't play for England. He'll play for like New Zealand or something.
No, he'll play for England. They'll take him from New Zealand.
Import him again.
They'll poach him.
So I mean, my jokes at Nasser Hussain's expense aside,
yes.
I think honestly, when you look at the South African team, they have the grit. I think they're one of those teams that chips are down on a day 5 pitch that's a minefield. They're one of those teams that you'd expect to try and potentially win, not win, but save the match in that situation. Look at the two guys that they named as captain and vice captain, right?
Yeah.
Elgar and Bavuma, who are two of the most like bloody-minded batsmen in world cricket. They have Aiden Markram, another one of those guys that's just going to get down to work and just not necessarily be the most technically perfect batsman.
Although Markram he's a joy to watch.
He is a joy to watch, but Aiden Markram is the exception. Elgar and Bavuma is also very nice, easy on the eyes. But those are guys that are just going to, if it comes down to it, they're going to be one of those teams that's just going to be difficult to beat.
Yeah, no, and even when they toured Pakistan, even when they looked like they lacked fight, right? They had characters who stood up and scored runs in tough circumstances. So now the matter that their batting order is weak and will fall apart if pressed. But there are holes. But there are players who stood up in occasions, and one of them, who I'm really geared to watch in the squad, is the guy that I love, Rassie van der Dussen. Rassie. Dude, he's awesome. He made his debut for South Africa in 31, and I mean, the bloke has been killing it in international cricket, averaging.
It's incredible. I mean, he only made his debut because AB retired, and they were like, "Well, we need somebody," and he's the best. Like, he was like one of the top first class and list A and limited overs batsmen in the country, and they were like, "All right, let's go with him." And since then, he's taken everything on as if it was just as easy as like walking. It's incredible.
Yeah. And he started cricket in general late, right? Like at 29 or something. So, obviously fantastic to watch. And a real fighter, right? And I
think that's the thing you can take away from the South Africa team. I think if you summarize it, they're a team that fights.
The rest of the squad, right? Apart from some of those exciting characters we mentioned, obviously Elgar captaining his first series. Bavuma, interesting, also captaining as vice captaining this particular side. So he's going to be interesting because his place has been under contention, hasn't scored a lot of runs,
and that's a lot of that is just bullshit about him being like a quota pick, which I personally just think it's totally dumb. He's in the squad because he's one of the best first class players in the country. That's why he's in.
And also
it also helps that he's black, but he's first and foremost, he's one of the better players in their first class system, and he's earned his spot, and that's why they can't drop him. It's not because.
Yeah. I mean,
I have very strong opinions on the quota thing that maybe we can get to in a later episode.
Yeah, we'll spend the
leave that for
entire
later.
Time dissecting that bullshit. But no, I think with Bavuma, obviously his problem is getting that second 100. He's one of those.
If he gets
players.
the second 100, he's one of those players that like you think. Yeah, if he just gets something, he's going to then just go on a tear where he just dominates world cricket for like a year, and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, because he's very technically organized, right, guys? He drives on the up quite well, plays square of the wicket quite consistently.
And he's defensive minded enough that it doesn't matter. He doesn't mind playing defensively. It's not like God. I'm trying to think of a good example of a guy who just does not give a shit about his defense, like at all.
Occasionally KP.
KP. Yeah, but KP is special, so we'll just leave KP. Okay, like KP. Yeah.
KP. I mean, sometimes we just always want to go on the attack to the bowlers. Great player, but no dissing.
I mean, but different strokes for different folks.
I mean, Bavuma, we see Quinton de Kock, obviously been he's keeping, no longer captain. Had a pretty disastrous series by his own measure.
He didn't want to be captain in the first place, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and so he's going to be probably that first choice wicketkeeper. And then you've got obviously another debutant in Sarah Lowry, top of the order. Bjorn Hendricks, the left-arm pacer, pretty consistently in the fringes of the squad. So now he's getting a call up, probably to provide that left-hand angle, sort of a replacement, if you will, for those who remember Wayne Parnell, another left-armer, 135-ish, swings it both ways. And then you've got your spinners in Lindy, Maharaj, probably premier choice, honestly, for them.
I mean, fourth best spinner in the world?
Yeah,
probably. So. Yeah,
and you've got Shamshi as well to provide that Chinaman variety. And then you've got, I guess, to round out the squad, the usuals in the pace bowling department: Anrik Norkia, Kagiso Rabada, probably going to be the opening bowlers in your attack. Lizard Williams, as we mentioned earlier. You're probably gonna see also Rian Mulder get a go as an all-rounder. He's been.
I think pretty much every test side except Australia has at least one all-rounder in that squad.
And even Australia investing in Cameron Green, right?
So, they are. But I mean, can we really call him an all-rounder at this point in his career?
I think he can. He hasn't shown his chops
at the test level.
At the chops, he hasn't shown his chops as a.
He hasn't had a chance to bowl. If you were selecting this team, who would you pick as your 11?
Good question. For me, I think it's fairly simple. Although there are some options that can complicate matters, right? So you've got Dean Elgar at the top, Aiden Markram. I think that's the no-brainer.
So those two guys are in stone because we already know the captain, senior opening batsman. Yeah.
I think Bavuma is going to probably slot in actually at 4. I know we've discussed this before. You think that it's probably going to be the opposite with Razi coming in at 4 and Bavuma coming in at 3. While I do think that that's a good strategy, I just feel like they're more confident with Bavuma in that middle order since he's helped them stave off some collapses with some half centuries in the past. Mm-hmm. So I'd go Razi 3. Can play the long innings.
4.
Yeah. Bavuma 4. 5 is interesting, right? And I think they're going to invest in Keegan Peterson just because the captain has faith in him, and that's probably a good place to make a debut for a young batsman at number 5. Don't see off either of the new balls. It's pretty effective in that way. I'd go with him. And number 6, this is going to be interesting. So QDK is probably going to keep here, but if they spring up and go for the extra batsman, who I think they're going to try to... Kyle Varian is a wicketkeeper batsman who's sort of been placed as a replacement in the squad for Quinton de Kock. But I could see him, I just could see him slotting in a little bit at 6 and then Quinton de Kock batting at 7 if that's more comfortable or vice versa, right? Mulder comes in, if Varian doesn't play, Mulder comes in at 7. And I think 8, 9, 10, and 11... You're gonna go with
themselves.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, right? You're gonna have to pick Maharaj as a spinner. I think Ngidi. I think they're pretty confident in the attack of Ngidi, Rabada, and Norkia to provide them that pace and so forth. The only thing the only thing I'm a little worried about this attack is it seems a little bit one-dimensional, right? Especially if they go with their first choice players. So
yeah, I think I would make one change, which is to swap out Ngidi for Janssen. I just think that a left arm who can bat a bit, that's something that's useful, especially at this level. And obviously with Ngidi, you can use Ngidi in different ways. With Ngidi, you can slot into his Rabada if you need to rest him for a match, or Norcia if you need to rest him for a match. He's a big seam up bowler, and you know that he can come in and bowl fast. That said,
go ahead.
What do you think about the West Indies?
This is a very good question. The Windies actually have less uncapped players in their squad, but the ones that they do have, I'm actually, funny enough, a little bit more excited about. So, I mean, obviously, let's start with the predictables here, right? Like Craig Brathwaite, captain, did a great job in Bangladesh and in Sri Lanka.
He's been great. He's probably been the best captain all year.
Yeah,
consistently.
So, yeah, and I think it's a no-brainer. He needs to obviously score a few more runs to get.
It looks like he's back in form. So
it does. And as an opening batsman, they need that sort of start to boost them at the order, especially with a more fragile lineup like when the Windies have. I think you have Jermaine Blackwood, who was magnificent as a human being.
He is the enigma. He is the enigma of. He's the soul, in a sense, of West Indies cricket. He's just completely just mystifying. He's just ununderstandable. It's like,
yeah, I remember.
Why are you doing this? But he's a wonderful player when he's on. He's just so elegant to watch when he's like, he just like hits the ball over six. Hit this ball for six over like long on, or and it's just like that's exactly what you should do.
Yeah, that's a natural order of things. He hits a 140k bowler plus just over long on, just
and then get out to like a 110 dibbly dobbly part-time military medium at best seamer who comes in basically just before tea, and he just hits one right to somebody.
Yeah, you remember when Archer was trying to blow
his head off?
You remember when Archer was trying to blow his head off? And he was like, yeah, he's trying to blow my head off. But okay, I'm going to win Crafton match-winning 96. And then I'm going to get out to the most innocuous delivery. There's like 10
I was watching that match, and I was like, how did you get yourself out to that? But,
he's VC.
Then you have, like, what, the three old men, I suppose, of the squad. Bonner, Bravo, and Myers, who sort of form up that engine room that they can slot in. You have
old rooms. I think it's important for our viewers to know, but old men who haven't necessarily played the most amount of cricket. Bravo obviously has played a decent chunk, but Bonner and Maya are still new to Test match cricket. But
they are seasoned pros in first class cricket.
Exactly,
they're very good.
And they've been
obviously
well.
Kyle Myers double century, fourth inning in Bangladesh on a turning track.
Bonner saved them
to win a match.
Yeah, Bonner saved them a match in Sri Lanka. Against
these guys are. They may not be the names that catch all the headlines, because they're going to be a couple of those names that come down the order. And you're like, why do you talk about those guys? Why don't you think they're going to be in the squad? It's because these three guys they've done the work to sort of make it into the selection, and that makes a lot of sense to keep them there. Good news, Roston Chase is back.
I was about to say that. Yep.
Which is really useful for a West Indies team, because he is both the sort of batsman that you can rely on in a crisis, and a pretty damn good spin bowler who can come in for part-time and as a second spinner in a squad.
Yeah. I still remember when he wrecked England for 8 wickets. Just think about it, right? The Windies have a history of such great fast bowlers, and the guy with the best figures against England is this part-time off spinner.
Let's give him some credit. He's not a part-time spinner. He's a batting all-rounder.
Yeah, he's a batting all-rounder, but still, man, come on. Carl Hooper should have got an 8 for by that standard. A 9 for, actually. But no, he provides them that balance in that squad. And him and the next pick, who they've selected, Rakheem Cornwall, have different bowling styles. So Roston Chase is much more flatter through the air.
Yeah, he's a guy. Roston Chase's job is a holding bowler. Let's be very real.
Yeah,
about
and
that.
Rakheem
Cornwall is a genuine off spinner. He's a guy who comes in and he bowls genuine spin. And he takes wickets, and he
gets
keeps
drift,
the run rate tight.
In the air, bounce off the pitch. Wonderful. Wonderful
player. As our tagline says, we love Rakheem. He's the dream. So joining that squad, we have Joshua Da Silva, who's come in, who's the excellent wicketkeeper. and excellent batsman. So he is someone to watch. He almost got a century, I believe, in one of the matches against Sri Lanka, and just missed out on it.
Yeah.
Shannon Gabriel, the leader of the pack, the seam attack. Jamar Hamilton, who's their young batting prospect, who has been doing pretty well in the Caribbean.
He's been in the fringe of the limited over squads for a while now, and I think they've gotten fed up of Campbell, and they've decided, okay, we're going to invest in this guy.
Jason Holder, the infallible talisman of that squad.
Do we need to say anything more about Holder?
Yeah, he's the talisman. He is the most beautiful man in cricket, and he is the talisman.
A recall for Shai Hope. I know you have thoughts about this. You have a lot of.
I'm confused by Shai Hope. I'm just going to say that out here. I'm going to be very honest. I am confused by Shai Hope. His last first class match, he scored 106. Yeah. Then he got dropped. That was a test match, and he got dropped because prior to that 106, he was like averaging in the teens.
Yes.
He's still averaging in the teens.
Yes.
He hasn't played a first class match since I think 2016 or something. Or
17.
2017, yeah. That wasn't a test match. So he got dropped for that reason, which makes sense. So he's back in the squad, which I think is more of okay, what if, sort of as a what if proposition, right? Yeah. What if something happens and we lose two openers, or we lose an opener and number 3 batsman? We need to have someone else who can come in and sort of be his cover. Shai Hope has the experience.
He's frustrating, so frustrating to watch, right?
I know.
You watch him and you're like, you know that he's a test match quality player. I saw those double hundreds at Headingley, and I was like, this guy can drive beautifully on the ground, play all the
he's a quality bat. I think that's enough. That says enough about him, but he needs to apply himself more as a batsman.
He really does.
Which is a shame, because he's such a joy to watch when he's on.
Yes.
But when he isn't on, it's the most painful thing to watch, because he tries to be that batsman that can. He tries to be Brian Lara when he's not on. When he's on, he just tries to be Shai Hope, and it's just like, wow.
Very Ramnaresh Sharvani, for those who are familiar from the 2000s Wendy's squad. Just technically organized perfect. But Joseph, the young...
I'm sorry, Joseph, who's in the squad. He's one of those guys with a big heart. He can come in. He's the enforcer in this squad. Let's be very real. He's the guy who comes in, and if Craig Bradley...
If Gabriel has an off day.
Which is, it's Shannon Gabriel, so he has as many off days as he has on days. Which is a bit harsh on Shannon Gabriel, but it is, in recent times, true.
Yeah. His fitness hasn't been up to par, right? He hasn't been able to go quick enough in recent matches, but I think that'll change. I think he'll
hopefully this extended break that they've had will help him out.
Another guy who's getting a
Kyle Myers.
Yeah, well, Kyle Myers we talked about has the ability for that dibbly-dobbly.
He is the nemesis of Jermaine Blackwood.
He's got that Hansi Kronya ability to get batsmen out.
It's not like he bowls badly either. He's like Colin DeGrandhome, except not as good as Colin DeGrandhome with the ball, but way better with the bat.
Yeah.
So it's okay, I'll take that in the squad. Kieran Powell. Who's in the squad? He's a debutant.
It's funny because the last time I saw him, Jimmy castled him with Jimmy Anderson in England. He was playing in the West Indies England series, and he castled him with an absolute peach. I'll remember that ball till the day I die. It was on leg stump and went.
It's one of those Jimmy balls.
Yeah, but he's had a torrid time. When he would last play in the squad, looked good. Always looks good. Technically organized, compact. Just a very lovely wristy player as well.
Yeah.
But didn't kick on, so I think he's domestically improved. At one point he wanted to play baseball. Wow.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Kemar Roach, who's back in the squad, has been tearing up county cricket. He's been fantastic. 9 for his last match. It's Kemar Roach. And I think, especially in this series, with how many left-handed batsmen South Africa is going to play, he is going to be massive. If he gets going, it's going to be very difficult for the South Africa team to get out of trouble.
Yeah, he cleans them pretty quick.
And then easy. If you had to pick an anti-left-handed batsman bowling lineup, it's him,
Ishant,
and it's Ashwin.
Ishant as well.
And Ishant, right? You got three. Those 3 guys are the first 3 names on the bowling attack. It's those 3 guys versus everyone.
Yeah, and a modern XI. Jomal Warrican as well, to give them that left arm spin option in the case that.
In case they want they play Roach and not Roach, Chase, and then they want a left arm spinner to go as the primary spinner.
But
which I don't think is going to
this...
be really that necessary in this series particularly because of how many lefties the South Africans are going to put in that squad.
Yeah.
So
no, fair enough.
He's there as cover.
Fair enough.
And then we have the young, really exciting prospect, Jaden Sales.
Yes, Jaden Seals. I've been on the Jaden Seals hype train. A disclaimer since 2020, when I watched him play in the under-19, some clips of him playing in the under-19 squad. And there was, I'll talk about one delivery I saw because it's relevant. He got a delivery that was just short of a good length. The rip literally hit the wrap the
batsman. Just came off a length and
fended off. Caught him at gully, and that's indicative of my love for Jaden Seals because he's not a jockey. He's a tall, Windies quick.
He's a classic Windies quick. He's going to get, and I think in this series we've seen South Africa struggle against tall, bouncy quicks. So that's something that could be an issue, and I think that's one other thing that I didn't want to say. It's good to see cricket somewhere that isn't Antigua, and I don't mean this in a mean way towards Antigua. It's just that we've seen every Windies match for the last year being played in the Antigua, in Antigua, and it's like, okay. The one thing I love about the Windies is that you can go to different grounds and they have totally different cultures about cricket there, right?
Yeah,
and playing totally different characteristics. It's just like Antigua. I mean, obviously, kudos to the Antiguan government for opening up, allowing people to come, not people to come, but allowing teams to come to their country to play. But it is nice to see a different country play a host for this match.
A change, and in particular, we're talking about Dominica. Dorset is going to be the site of plenty of these test matches. And you're right.
That's
and Antigua is traditionally a very flat pitch, and even though they've spiced it up and they relayed it and they try to help the wickets, in that West Indies and Sri Lanka series, the pitches were getting flatter, and you could see by day 4, day 5.
It was not fun to watch on day 4 and day 5.
Yeah, it was just heading towards a draw, and you knew it, right? That being said, I think this is going to be a very interesting series because both of these batting lineups. I'd like to quote something you told me in when we were just talking about this casually, right? And that the team that's going to win here is going to be the team that bowls better. And I agree with you on that, even though it's a very generic pundit thing to say, because both of these batting lineups are capable of genuinely impressive individual showings, but they're also collectively capable of collapsing at any time.
Yeah. So on that note, do you want to make a fantasy team about this?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, let's.
So why don't you pick the batsmen and I'll pick the bowlers? I think that's a fair way to split it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's start off with the openers. I have a feeling that Aiden Markram is going to cement himself well here. So I think I'm going to go with him.
Markram's a lefty, though, right?
A righty.
Elgar's a lefty. Yeah. I always get those two mixed up because they're almost the same batsman, except Elgar is just an uglier player and is left-handed.
Yeah.
So it's just like.
No, fair enough. Markram, I just feel like after that tour time, he's cracked the code, right? He scored that 100 in Pakistan second innings. I think he's gonna do well here.
Okay, so Markram and.
I'm actually gonna go out of a limb here and gamble, even though Elgar is a safer bet. I'm gonna pick Brathwaite just because I think the captaincy is gonna help him with his batting, and he's coming in.
He has mentioned that in the interviews. He said that has really helped him just focus on cricket.
Yeah. So those two at the top of the order. This is fun because I can be completely crazy and erratic with these or not. But for our viewers, I'm gonna be honest. I think we're gonna see Bavuma. I think we're gonna see Bavuma and Razi score some runs. So
do you mean for Bavuma and Razi?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I think Razi. I think Razi will stay. Bavuma, I'm not entirely convinced about, even though I like the guy. I'm actually gonna go with my gut instinct, and I'm actually gonna pick Kyle Mayers to score some runs as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Razi, Kyle Mayers for the first test, and then at number 5, I think I'm gonna go with Keegan Peterson. I like his technique. I think he's gonna do good things here. And then
wicketkeeper.
Wicketkeeper, yeah. Quinton Cock does seem recharged and refreshed, and I think he'll have a bumper series. So I'm going to go with him as wicketkeeper. As much as I like Silva, I just think he's
Joshua
in a
Silva
better zone.
He's one of the coolest guys in that West Indies camp. And yeah. I think in this match, in this series, I'm going to actually go and pick Jason Holmberg. He's fantastic with the ball.
Yeah,
I'm going to pick Kemar Roach.
Yeah.
So that's two of my 5 remaining spots. So
yeah,
Kemar Roach, I'm gonna go pick Anders Norcia and Kagisa Rabada. But my final pick, I'm actually gonna throw this one out there because I think that this player is going to actually be very effective. It may not be like one of those hipster choices. I think Rakheem Cornwall, especially against how many left-handed batsmen there are, and we know that every left-handed batsman in the world simply cannot play off spin. That's how they all play. Even guys like Henry Nicholls, who's been fantastic, can't play off spin.
Yeah, and actually, it's a very interesting squad that we've picked, right? Because we have a collection of very short batsmen. And very tall.
I think that's what you have to be to survive on a pacey West Indian wicket. You've got to be small so you get out of the way.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, right? Like a smaller batsman, obviously it's not applicable for everyone, but smaller batsmen generally tend to do better on bouncier surfaces, on pacey surfaces, just because the short ball has to be adjusted for their height, and they grow up, facing that sort of stuff and more attuned to that, right? Whereas in the Windies, historically, the bowlers, quick or slow, who get the most out of the wicket, are the taller bowlers, right? And so I think, picking an attack of tall bowlers, especially with Cornwall, Norcia, as you said, Rabada, I think we're good to go. So that'll be our prediction.
So I think on that note, I think we're gonna end this one. We'll be back with a preview of the second test for England, New Zealand. We have some very interesting thoughts on that.
Yeah. See you there.